Welcome back to Phoenix Plays a Game. This is episode 2 of our Puzzle Rush series, trying to get to 60 correct and hopefully break my personal all-time best of 62 correct puzzles before taking 3 strikes. I am Phoenix, I am a chess expert, and I am a risk master, hoping to get better at both, and this is how we do that. Got to train your skills. So we are looking at a puzzle that we left off on right at the end of episode 1, and it looks to me like we're going to be taking pieces here. And if I take with the knight, then I get that knight pinned and it's lost. So I probably want to take with the queen, and they'll take my knight, and then I'll take a queen, and they'll take back, and I'll take a knight, and I'll have a free bishop. So step 0, as we say, is count the material. We have even material, so if I win a piece, I win the game. And if I go here, you can't win a piece back. So that's the end of the calculation, really. Yep. There you go. That was easy. Okay. I have a nice little pin going on here. Let's look at the black king. He's got only one square he can move to, and he's got just a rook and a pawn defending, but the file is blocked by this queen. So what we have here is we go check, and then we could go check, or we could go check here, or we could go check here. So it looks like I can go check, and the rook takes, and then we go queen here, check, and I think that's mate. My other option is check here, and then the rook will block, and then I don't have anything I can do there. So I want to probably move this pawn out of the way. If it's check, can the king move anywhere? No. The king can't take it because it's guarded by a rook, so that's it. Mate. Perfect. We are just 2 into this, but we are moving super quick. We just need to keep on pressing here. So check. King moves here. That's this, mate. So the king won't go there. Check here. And then we win a rook. And it becomes pinned. Step 0, count the material. We each have 2 rooks and a queen. So if we trade off, this pawn will queen and win. So it looks like I can just win a rook like this. Do I have any checks against my king? No, not really. Not if I'm checking theirs. And then they can't come in here, and they can't come in here. So this is just going to win a rook. Just like that, mate. Perfect. That's going to be a mating pattern. Naked king. We talked about this last time. There's a naked king here. It's only got 2 squares it can move to right now. Oh, 3. These 3. And if I go like this, it can only move here. So what the mate threat would be to attack it here. But I think what is more important is that my rook is attacked. So we have even material. I'm actually up a couple pawns, 2 pawns. I'm up this pawn, and then I guess you would call it this one. 6 to 4. So we're up 2 pawns. So I have a couple moves in mind. I can go here, I can go here, I can go here. And I think if I go, let's start with the first thing you want to start with is a check, of course. Let's just try the rook first. I don't know. This would be a common mate formation called the hook and ladder if this knight were protected, but this knight is not protected. So the king will take it. That's why if I could play 2 moves, I would play here and here, and that's mate. So let's check. You take my knight. I go check. You go here. And then I don't have anything else that I can do. Okay, so let's otherwise check targets. The rooks are targets because they're undefended. And the king is a target because it's in the middle of the board. So what if I go knight check? Then the king can go here, here, here. And I think if I go check and it goes here, then I go check here. And it goes back, and then I go check here. This doesn't feel right. So for those who have not followed the channel before, when I get to about 30, I have to slow down and think. I motor through like 30, and then basically we get them all right, but it takes me a little bit of time to think until we get to 40, and then it gets super hard. And the last 20 are an absolute grind because everything is so precise, so technical, and things that look like they're correct are not correct because of some secret move at the end. So I think we want to go check, and they take the knight, maybe a pawn check, then they go here. That doesn't seem to work either. Huh. I think we're going to try the knight check again. So what if like knight check, and let's just say it comes forward like this, and we check like this. I probably don't want to check with this pawn because it blocks the bishop's access to the king on this diagonal. So I want to use the cheapest piece, which would probably be check this way. And then the king would maybe go here. And then I could go knight check, and the illegal squares would be here and here. Well, if this one, then check here, then the king goes here. Then I don't have anything again. That doesn't seem to work. I thought this idea would work. Okay, check here. How about check this way? King over here. I can't really guard the knight and with the king right here. So I'm wondering if I need to find a different target. Like check here and then rook check. Like that. And then king here and then rook check and then king here. And one of the main reasons we do this kind of thing is to work on our pattern recognition. That's a fork of two pieces. We don't want to do that. So we want to work on our pattern recognition so that this kind of thing comes easy when I see a knight and a rook. Like the one pattern I know is just this and then mate. So I am being attacked. That's a problem. I can't defend the knight. That's a problem. That's why I think it's one of these two moves so that I can get them both out of danger. We're materially even. So if I were to lose a piece, it'd be pretty bad. So if I went bishop here and they took and I took back, I lose an exchange and I don't have an attack at all on the king. So what if we go like check this way? Then here, check, and then they take that. That's not it. Check here, back again. Doesn't do anything either. My rook is still hanging. Check right there, and then that's got to be mate. All right, it has to be something with this and that we missed. What did we miss here? Can it be check here? It just runs away. Check again, king here. This is not it at all. This doesn't make any sense. Okay, maybe we can use the pawns or something. Check here, check. And all of these are illegal, right? All those are illegal. So pawn here, or sorry, king here, and then pawn check. And if king down, then rook mates. So check, king, bishop, king, pawn, king, rook is mate. But there's always this king move to here. Now, I can't figure this one out. What if we go check here? Then they take that, and there's no follow-ups that make any sense there. So can't be it. I mean, what I really like to do is get this rook involved in the game. Like if I could go check and take, and then I go here and then check this way, that would be pretty cool because then I can bring a rook to this square and mate. But I just realized, of course, if I return the rook, this bishop is still there. So that is still going to be a problem for us. So there must be some other target we can take advantage of. What if we go to the back rank? That doesn't seem to do much either. Check. And I lose a rook. So I don't think I can sacrifice a piece and let the king in the box out of the box like this, you know? I don't think I can just like allow that. So this looks like a good check because you can't go to any of these squares. And then I just have to figure out how to handle it after that. So if the king goes here, I always go knight back. I'm thinking it is the knight move, but don't forget that my rook is hanging. So check here, here. And I can't do anything slow. I have to just immediately play something. Check, like king here or something. There's this rook check again. King, knight, king, bishop, king, pawn. And then that should be enough to finish the game right there because I can go what? Rook check, bishop check again? All right. I feel like it's this knight move, but I don't have it, and I don't like to move until I have it. So I definitely have one mating formation. If I go knight, king over, pawn, the pawn will cover this square. So the rook is covering these three squares. The knight is covering these two. And a pawn will cover that middle one, and that's a mating formation. My problem is, though, and that's like if the king is here, we'll have a pawn, a bishop delivering the mate, or a knight right here actually prevents that. Never mind. So the problem is this square. I can't figure out how to cover this one because if my knight goes here, then the king can go here, and I don't have anything that can check except the rook. But then if the rook is here, it's not covering that square. So maybe I go knight, rook, knight back again, and then I use the bishop to cover the dark squares and the pawns to cover any remaining light squares like this. That should be a mate. So I think it is going to go like this. It is. Well, that's all I had to do. Okay, let's take a look at it. If I go check here, um, what if this? Yeah, rook f3 is what we said. Now I was looking at this, and I kept getting to this. It's still mate in 5 from this position, so it feels a little unfair to have ended the puzzle like that. But the idea is I'm going to put a bishop here and a pawn here, and then that should cover everything. So, sorry, pawn here in this formation. I need a pawn here if the knight is still on g3. So let's go king h4. Why not? Now I go, I thought bishop check would be appropriate, but there's actually a pawn here. So what I have to do is h6, you say. Bishop e7 is still winning. Bishop g5 here. And then I can actually just doink. It says get out of the way. Let's say it goes back. And then I can just do it again, right? And come back like this. And this is almost the formation that I was talking about with a pawn here, a knight here. But this will be mate. I don't think you can stop it, right? You can like delay it by putting a piece in the way. But I take that. And now anything else, mate. So this is the mating, right? Let's just play like this. This is the mating formation I was envisioning in my mind. And that's why I played the knight to here. Another one that would go something like from back in the original position would be check and then king here. And then I thought I would have basically this idea. And then all I had to do was solve this problem, which is this is what was giving me such fits. But I guess I can play check. So if you go bishop f4, I just take it. So that was the idea. This was kind of the breakthrough, is realizing that I cover the f4 square with this rook no matter what. And I can always put the knight back. If the king ever went like this, I could just put the knight back, guard the rook, check the king. Okay. That was a tough one, suspiciously tough, but felt it was kind of, I don't know, deserving, I guess, of some sort of discussion there. So step 0, count the material. Material is, I'm up a pawn. No, sorry, material is even. I'm missing an f pawn. But this is a classic maneuver of this knight holding a bishop on its own knight file 5 squares up, or knight 5 as we call it. We just remove the knight, then you can take the bishop, and I'm pretty sure that's just going to be the answer here. Free piece, take the piece back. That was easy. Definitely a lot easier than the last one we did. Okay, we have a lot of things we could do in this position. Let's step 0, count the material. We are down a bishop, so we need to win a rook or better. And we have targets here. It's undefended. We have a king, because a king is always a target. If you win it, you win the game. And that looks like the only thing we can do. So it's kind of neat. If I went like this, the rook is almost trapped. It's got a few squares it can go to. These ones. That's it. So it's like it's almost trapped, but not quite. So what if we just attack the other target? So attacking this target, oh, kind of works. Oh, if you go here, I go here. Forking your rooks. But if I go here, you just take this pawn. Yeah, and now it's like dangerous. So let's not do that. Let's try this check only move. Phoenix's rule of check only move is that if you check the king and he has only one move, legal move, it's probably the right answer. So then we go check again, and only 2 legal moves this time, these 2. And then it's protected by this knight, by this rook. So I can actually go check again, and now it's mate. And so there's our answer. Notice that the knight guards this square as well. So if the king were to go here, it can't retreat because that square is guarded. So now we're just going to mate. There you go. The knight was protected by the other rook, in case you didn't notice. Oh, this one should be fairly simple. Anytime a king runs itself into pawns, you just got to guard these squares and then mate him. And I think I'm just going to go here and mate. Here, and then the computer is going to sacrifice a bishop. Now I'm going to take that back, and it's mate. There we go. That was easy too. Mating formations, got to know them. Okay, immediate solve on this one is that the king is in such a weird position and there is no pawn on f7. So what that means is we take advantage of that by simply putting a light squared piece on that diagonal. So the first thing I did was I tried to play bishop f1 to f4, but there isn't one there. We can't do that, so we're not going to. Oh, it's early morning here, still warming up for the day. So what we're going to do instead is use our other light squared moving piece, and then we have to figure out which of these two squares we want to move to. Well, one of them is covered, so it should be pretty clear that this is almost an immediate solve based off of this simple pattern of recognizing that the diagonal is weak. The king is weak, the diagonal is weak. This is called an f2, f7 weakness. One of these two pawns is missing, so I'm going to go here. Check. If you block with the knight, I take it, and it's checkmate. So you block with the pawn, and I en passant that. Check. And then now you block with the knight, and I take that. Notice that the queen is not connected to the knight because my own pawn is in the way. See how my pawn's in the way, blocking the queen's defense of the knight? Okay. That was a fairly simple one. We are back to the cruise mode. This one also looks very simple. Okay, I see the complication. Step 0, count the material. We are down a bishop, but we're up a bunch of pawns for it. 4 pawns. So we almost just need to trade down and win the game. So we have 2 ideas to do that. We have check, and I guess you could also say check here. So let's try the rook first, because Phoenix's rule of the farthest away piece says that if the queen is, or any piece is around the king, guarding a bunch of squares around the king, and the other is not, these are not around the king, then probably we want to use the piece that's farthest away in that sense. So probably check. And then if we go here, we go mate, queen, mate, because the queen becomes the farther away piece at that point, because now the rook is adjacent to the king. So Phoenix's rule says check here and then mate, and you can see how the rule works. That was a pretty simple one, but check. And then the only other legal move is here. And what I wanted to do originally was check, but now I see there's a rook there. So the other thing I wanted to do was check, but there's actually a queen there. So those are problems. And so finally we want to go check or check, but then my rook just hangs. So if I go rook check and king here, how can I follow this up with a good move? Aha. I have one more way, and it's check here. That's it. Now you block with the rook, and I take it, and then you play king here. Oh, you can't play there. But anyway, check, king, queen, mate. I know this is a mate because it's a kissing queen, and when there's the king is here and the queen were here, there's only 2 ways for the king to escape. It's back to the left and back to the right, but those are both covered by my very powerful rook. So I think we're going to go ahead and play it. And you had to find this move as a possible check. But no problem. That's a mate. Okay, cool. We're at 40, everybody. And I was intending to get to 40, but I wasn't intending to get there fast, which is interesting because I guess that just means I'm getting better at this game. So we already did 9 puzzles. Let's do a couple more. And if this one gets to be hard, I think we'll cut the video and take a break. But I see no reason to want to do that right now. I think we are definitely cruising here. So step 0, count the material. And this is how we know what we want to target. Like, are we targeting this knight or this queen, or should we like try to go for the king? I don't know. Let's just count the targets. King is always the target. Rook is attacked once and defended once. Those are equal amounts. Therefore, the rook is a target. And the reason is if we can shake the queen off of the defense of the rook hangs. So like if we went like this and the queen had to leave or something like that, then we would be able to take the rook. Like, let's say they went, I don't know, their queen's trapped on the diagonal. Sorry, on the rank, it's trapped. So let's just say they drop back or something, then we just take the rook with mate. So you see why targeting is important. It shows you what you want to try to add firepower to. So let's try. Okay, rook is a target, king is a target. The queen is undefended. If we add an attacker to her, we can win her. Knight is undefended and bishop is undefended, which means this is a fork. So if you still can't see that, so it looks like everything is a target. So if you still can't find it, what you want to try to do is draw lines connecting targets. So we target and target. So let's draw a line that connects them like this. But also, just for posterity, just to be absolutely, literal about this, is they both connect from the f6 square. So if I put a bishop there, it would be a fork, but not practically. So basically, it's this line. We want to add a rook or queen to the back line. We have these pieces connected on this square, but we also have them connected on this square. So if we could put a queen on either e5 or h5, that would be a fork of the two pieces. We have these two connected on a diagonal. So if we could put a queen or bishop there, that would be great as well. And I'm thinking that originally when I looked at this and I just immediately saw the position, I assumed it would be bishop forking the two. That looks good to me still, actually. When I started that sentence, I was going to say, actually, it's the queen. But I have to decide, is it the queen or the bishop? There's this threat here of queen check, and it's a problem a little bit, but right now my queen is guarding that square. So because my queen guards that square, it makes me think the bishop goes here. And if the queen moves anywhere other than right here, then we will be able to take the rook. I guess the only other square they can move to is take my bishop, in which case we'll just win the queen. So it looks like it is going to be bishop there. I guess my eyes were correct on first look. But what if queen goes here? Because the idea is I'm threatening the rook with mate. So if queen goes here, maybe they just trade queens. And that's the reason it doesn't work. So yeah, I think we're going to play bishop here. That's correct. We'll take that. And then we're just going to take a rook. Cool. I failed to note that we were down a rook. Did I say that? We were down a rook, but now we're up a piece. So, it looks like I'm just going to queen. Oh. Hmm. Okay, I'm down material here. But I think it's going to be check. And when if the king goes like this, we take the pawn. So we're going to go check king, and then I'm going to take the rook. But then it's going to come over, and my rook and pawn are kind of stuck. So probably I would take this bishop, and then they take a rook, and then I take a pawn, and then I'm losing. Ugh, I'm down a rook. So like winning the rook doesn't help. I have to win the rook at a minimum. So what can we do about that? I could win the bishop. If I go rook check, the king has to move here. The reason is you can't take because I'll promote with the queen. So here. Oh, I preserve the rook. Check. They take this and then they just come back. It doesn't work. That's worse. Okay, check. King. I take the rook. King. And what I'd love to do is teleport this bishop across my pawns and protect both rook, check the king, and so on. But it doesn't work. So check, king. How about they go like here. I go rook back, check. They take a pawn. And now what I want to do is figure out a way that I can capture this bishop with tempo. And I'm not seeing how to do that one quite yet. What if I go? What if I just take the bishop and then you take? Then I don't have a rook, right? What if I go here and you go here? Then I go check and you go here, and I don't have that. I don't have anything. They're either, so check, king. I think I have to win a rook. I don't see there's any choice there. What if check, king, and I take the bishop now? Then they take, and I take, and they take, and I have a bishop against a rook, which is really bad. I've got to figure out a way to promote the pawn or drag the rook out of the way. So check here, and then I take this pawn, and then they take me. No, none of that works. I can just take the pawn any moment when they're not in check. So check here. I take the rook to guard the pawn. It's the only way to guard the pawn. Here, can I go like rook over and attack that guy? That's a typical maneuver, but the idea is that you can queen the pawn on the next move. And here I cannot do that. It won't work. Check. They will take my rook. So I need to figure out a way that I can move my rook even better. Okay, check here, take here. I get it. Right here, then take the pawn. And now the difference is I go check. And I'm forking. I'm saving the rook, but I'm forking the white king and the white bishop. That's the answer. And I was trying to save my rook with tempo, and that is how we do it. So it's going to be check, take, here, right there. I'm threatening to queen. They must take my pawn because I'm threatening to queen. So they take it, and then I go check, and then I take their bishop. And I'm up. I have a spare bishop. Okay, same idea. We already saw this one. Do you remember it from earlier? With this weird formation and the missing f2, f7 pawn. What we're simply going to do is grab our light squared bishop and put it right here. Oh, I don't have one? Oh, well, how about if I put a queen there? Oh, no, you can go right here. Block me. No, I en passant you. And then the knight will have to block. And then remember, my pawn is blocking the queen's protection. So we already saw this. Not this exact puzzle, but yeah, en passant. And notice my pawn is blocking the knight. So we're going to go here, here, and it's mate. We already saw that exact thing. Queen b3, and then en passant, and then take the knight, and then take the bishop, and it's mate right here. Formations. That's why we practice these, everybody. That's why we do it. Okay. If we go here, they block with the knight. And anytime a knight is blocking a queen check from adjacent to a king, there's no more checks. So queen check, this knight comes back, and now notice that knight guards this square, so there's no queen check there. And if there were a square above this bishop, that direction, above there wouldn't be a check there either. The knight would guard that too. There's no checks anywhere when you have that formation. So let's imagine here's my queen. There's their knight and there's their king. I can't go here or here or here or here to check the king that's on this square. Why? Because the knight guards all of those. Very important thing to know. So this is probably the wrong answer. So therefore it's either this or this or this. So the queen is busy guarding a square around the king. The bishop is not busy guarding a square around the king. Ergo, it is probably Phoenix's rule of the farthest away piece says it's the bishop. It is not controlling any squares. So right now I have 2 pieces attacking a king. Let's make it 3. So what happens if I go check? Then this knight blocks. And I don't have anything there. So let's just go ahead and play the bishop. And then when the knight blocks again, because remember this square is covered by the queen, we'll go, when the knight blocks, now we will go here. But there's a difference. The difference is I have a bishop attacking the square, so I can actually take. Check. And then it wins a piece. I'm down pieces, though. So we do have to checkmate. It looks like when the king sneaks out this way, we have a check, and then the king will sneak this way. And then I think, do we have a follow-up to that somehow? Probably a rook check or something. It at least wins a piece. I need to win 2 pieces. Ouch. Okay, let's start with the bishop. That was all I had to do. Yep, it's just going to lead to mate. There are tons of different ways for a white to lose from that position. Check. Let's say they block. I probably go, oh, it's even better. I was going to play queen f2, knight block, and then I take this. And then if king goes here, we actually have rook c6. Yeah, rook check. Missed that the rook check is first, but what if the queen blocks? Then this is kind of a cool formation. I don't want to go here and have the queen take it. I'd actually play this one. Right there. Now what can we do? How do we win this? Oh, right, duh. The queen's hanging, obviously. And then, but that's why I thought right here, that's why I thought this might be a correct move. And then is there anything else you can do? Knight e3 is the only legal move. And now we actually have an even better way to do this. Check. I didn't see this. They should have made me play it. I didn't see that. I saw the other mate. I saw the longer one where the king goes here and then we rook check or knight check. All right. We're at 44 puzzles. We're doing well, everybody. I think this is going to be the last one. We're going to call it at 45. I like to do 30, 45, then like 55, then 60 in each episode. Okay. Oh man, I don't know these patterns. I really don't. I don't know how to do these with knights. I want to promote this pawn. I need to make sure that this knight can't come in to stop the pawn. If I go right here, the knight goes right here, and there's no move that prevents the knight from just taking the pawn. It doesn't even matter if the knight is lost, the white knight is taken, because that'll be a draw. As long as the pawn is dead, it's a draw, regardless of which knights are dead, right? If you're left with a king and a knight, it's a draw. Insufficient mating material. This is the only mating material left on the board. So I have to go here, and if the knight goes here, I don't think there's anything I can do about that. I should know these by now. I am an expert. I should know these like the back of my hand. I've read them in books, and then I immediately forget them. I just can't remember how these work. But I know that it's something to do with, obviously, we don't want to push the pawn and lose it. So we probably want to bring the king. I wanted to put the king here. I know that you want to go 2 squares diagonal from the knight so that the knight can't come in this way or this way. 2 problems. 1, my knight is in the way. 2, there's a king guarding the square anyway. So that doesn't work. How about if I went like check, king, pawn, knight. We're done for. There's nothing we can do. Check, king. Have to save the pawn, and the only way to save the pawn is by pushing it. And then the knight goes here, and there are no legal moves that prevent knight from taking pawn next move. So this is wrong on account of this. And in fact, I'm guessing this is wrong for the same reason. It is indeed wrong. So no knight move is correct. I must stop the king from coming into the square. So my instinctual move, and the first one I actually thought it would even be, is king to g6. And now looks like in order to prevent the pawn from moving forward, the knight has to come here. And then I can check. But then the king goes here. And he's not threatening my pawn exactly. And I go check, check here. And then the knight has to take it. And then I push, and the knight comes back, and then I push, and the knight can't get to the corner. Ooh, that's complicated. I think it's got to be this move. It is. Now I'm thinking it's check, king, check. I actually used this to beat my very first expert chess player in a tournament game. I used this kind of idea of I check you to draw your knight away from my pawn. I sacrifice the knight in order to draw him out of the corner. And that's exactly what I did. And then I queened here. Then I had to win under very strict time pressure. It was 5-second delay. I had like 3 seconds on my clock. So every 5 seconds I had to make a move or I would lose. And I had to win a queen against knight endgame. But like they didn't start in the corner. They started in the middle of the board. So it took 20 moves. And it was very complicated. Imagine you work that hard to beat your first expert. Your heart is pounding. You got 5 seconds to make every move, and your opponent is threatening to fork your king and queen every move. You got to be careful. You have no time to even look at the board. And I did it. I pulled it off. It took me like 25, 30, 35 moves or something to finally do it. And it was great. I zugzwanged him in the end. Okay, enough story time. If I push the pawn, I lose. If I move the king, I lose. So we have to move the knight. If I go here or here, that's dumb. So I'm pretty sure it's just this check. Oh, okay. Well, we can't push the pawn quite yet. So I'm thinking I want to go here. That threatens the knight and makes the knight move. If you take, I push. You come back here. I go like this. You go like that. I go like that. And that's game. Why can't I go right here, though? Because it's check if you take. So what if I go here and you go check? Then I go here and there's no more checking because this square is covered. I think that's the correct answer. If you move the king, I take the knight. If you move the knight anywhere, if you go knight here, then I've escaped. Basically, you can't take the knight, so it doesn't matter if you go here or here. I'll just move my king, and I'm fine. I think it's this. It is. Okay, be careful. Push, check, move. Come here, I take it. Push the pawn? Yeah, because otherwise knight here and I can't do anything. Push the pawn. I did remember how to do it. Yay. Okay. That's 45, everybody. I'm thinking it's gonna be boop, boop, mate. Okay. I don't know. We're not gonna think about it quite yet. How about if I actually can't? All right. I promise we're not going to think about it. I certainly have fun doing these. If you have fun doing these, leave a comment about what tactic or section of the game. Is it end games you want to learn more about? Is it opening traps, or is it something like that that you want to hear more about? I'm happy to make a video on that if you want to learn specific tactics. And if you like that, definitely hit the like button, because the algorithm loves that and it gets my videos served to more people who want to see it. And I would love to build this channel up. I need to keep getting that so that we can keep making these videos. So, I mean, I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. I'm hoping you're having a lot of fun. And I'll see you for episode 3.